Very welcome to the explained section of Indian economy in our channel, and we'll be discussing a very important Indian Express explained section where we'll understand how the free trade agreements with USA, EU and UK. Now you have already signed with UK and we are negotiating with USA and EU will impact the India's farm trade. Now we all know that India's agriculture is the lifeline of almost 50% of India's people who are employed, and thereby it is very important that we tend to secure them. So there is a renewed pressure from the countries which are developed that we should open our market, the agricultural market, and one way is that we should have a free trade agreement. That means their item will come to India relatively at a lower tariff, lower non-tariff barrier. And secondly, the import duty will also be reduced on the items. So that might impact India's trade. Now, as we speak now, India का जो agricultural trade है, that is, we are trade surplus, and we have more exports and less imports. But if the FTAs happen, this might change. So this article is basically discussing how the free trade agreement in the current ecosystem under Trump administration, where he believes that India is unfairly putting high tariff on the imports which are coming from USA. So let's understand the dynamics of this and see how this will be impacted. Now, so if we look at the trade scenario, India's exports were around $51.9 billion, and that has been fluctuating. It is shrinking, it is increasing. It declined. Now remember this here, MCQs can be asked. From 2013-14 onwards to 19-20, the agricultural exports were declining. In average, they declined, they increase in certain time. So there is a fluctuating trend that we come to see here. So the fluctuating trend is one factor. Also, the imports have steadily increased. Now UPSC can directly ask, the India's agricultural exports have steadily increased in last 1 decade. Now the answer is no. Our agricultural exports have not steadily increased, rather it has been fluctuating trend. The imports have steadily increased since. Now here again we have a trend, so we'll understand. Now what exactly is happening? So exports are stagnating and imports are increasing. So the trade balance means export minus import, is shrinking. Now this is shrinking, that means it is coming down. And on top of that, US and EU are seeking tariff reduction and greater market access. So they want that India should open agricultural market, and the tariff, the duty that we impose on their imports, which are our imports and their exports, are supposed to be reduced. So this is the scenario, and let's see this chart, and this chart will give a better picture. Now this chart has come from the Department of Commerce. Now you can see here, जो India का export था agriculture का, it was 43.3 and it is 51.9. Now it has increased, but if you see this area, there is a fluctuating trend. It decreased, little increased, then increased, then decreased, then increased. Still here also, there is a lot of fluctuating trend, increasing, decreasing. So on an average, the exports are not steadily rising. They are either increasing or decreasing. Similarly, but on the contrast, the imports have steadily increased. There are phenomena of phases where the imports might have decreased, but in general, the rise in the import is higher than the export. So what we see here is that the India's agricultural trade advantage that we had might not be there as it was earlier. So this is a big challenge for India's economy, and the pressure that is coming from the developed countries that see, open your market, give more market access. So that will increase imports more in the future, and exports might be stagnant. So this is the scenario that we come across. Now these are very important, the trends part for the UPSC questions. Now let's talk about the export scenario. So India's top agricultural exports, you can see here, the highest is the marine products. Okay. Second is non-basmati and basmati rice. So these are top 3 marine products. Spices again. So top 5, these are the top 5 ones in terms of the agricultural exports: marine products, non-basmati rice, basmati rice, spices, buffalo meat, and even we have areas like sugar, fruits, we have in general. Also we can see tobacco is India doing well, exports. Tobacco and coffee India has done export surplus. So these are in $1 million. So technically in marine products we have $7.4 billion, non-basmati $6.5 billion. Now non-basmati goes to the African countries, basmati goes to the West Asian countries, Okay, so these are the scenarios that we can understand. Now here, minute information is very important, and I have put it the important pointers here. So top exports, marine products, USA, China, and EU. Okay, so marine products, USA, China, and EU. Now these are the top exports of marine products. So now again the question can be asked. So where maximum in USA, China, and EU. 35% goes to the. Now here Mr. Trump is asking that reduce the barrier tariff. Now that will reduce the export and import might increase. Rice, basmati, West Asia, and non-basmati goes to Africa. Also coffee, spices, tobacco, fruits, vegetables. Here also India's export surplus. Now exports in the coffee has increased because of drought in Brazil and typhoon in Vietnam. So Brazil, Vietnam provides exports to the world agricultural market, and there India has benefited. Also the poor crop in Brazil and Zimbabwe has benefited Indian exports in these areas. Okay, tobacco and coffee. Then oil seeds. Now oil seeds, India is a net importer, but now remember there is an exception. Now this is again important for prelims examination. Groundnut and sesame, these India is exporting more. So exports is higher, but net oil seeds, the imports are high. So in general, the export trend I put here because groundnut and sesame, India is exporting more in comparison to the other oil seeds which are importing. So this is the export trend of the India's economy. Now let's talk about the import trend. Now when you look at the import trend, the top import is vegetable oil, okay, because India is producing less. Pulses. Now these are two areas where India has done a lot of imports. Now pulses, oil seeds, vegetable oil, because oil seeds India is producing less, the demand is very high, and thereby we have to import it. So that is a big challenge. Almost 17 billion of the vegetable oil import, and this is the challenge of India's agricultural economy. Even the pulses, it has crossed 5 billion, again, which is a challenging thing. Then other areas like spices, also we have though we are export surplus, but we have imports also of certain spices. Okay, so then raw cotton, the cotton, alcoholic beverages, natural rubber, these are the areas where you can say India is importing. So UPSC might ask which are the agricultural import areas: vegetable oil, pulses, natural rubber, cotton. Okay, so we are exporting also and we are importing also in many areas. Okay, so that is the scenario that we can see and discuss. Now top imports, vegetable oil and pulses. Now one challenge that India always has been trying, and we have oilseed mission, we have pulses mission. In the last few years, few decades, India has consistently tried to increase the yield of the vegetable and oils, vegetable oils and pulses. Now problem is that low yield. Why low yield? If you remember in the previous economic section, we discussed that the technology part, the better technologies are actually coming in wheat and rice, especially rice, but we are not witnessing new technologies in the vegetable oil and pulses. So yield is low. Second is the MSP support is not available. So from farmer's perspective, now let's say I'm a farmer, I will not go for vegetable oil and pulses because the kind of support that is available in the minimum support price, that is not there in these crops. So automatically there will be less produce, even though government is talking about crop diversification, and MSP can be an incentive for crop diversification. Then cotton and natural rubber, rising imports, stagnant yield domestically. So again here India has not done much in the cotton field. We have one hybrid variety, BT cotton, and beyond that nothing much has happened in terms of new innovation and technologies. The spices, black pepper and cardamom, again here these are the imports. Now remember, normally spices India is surplus in export. Spices India is surplus in export, but black pepper and cardamom we are importing. Now this is again a question for MCQ that can be there. Fruits, apple, dry fruit, alcoholic beverages, we are importing more. So these are the import trend that we are discussing. Now question comes that these are the data of last few years. Now how the new trade deals will change. Now new trade deals, we already had a trade deal with UK, with USA and EU, the negotiation is on. Now moment the trade deal happens, so this will open our agricultural market. So import of dry food, wines and spirit will go up. Now dry fruit, wines and spirit will go up. When they will go up, imports will go up, that means export will come down. So the trade advantage that India has will not be there. More push for import duty cut. Now this is for USA, UK, and ease non-tariff barriers. Okay, better market access, because Mr. Trump or Trump administration has been pushing it. Now question comes, how will the overall scenario will change? Where will the trade go? Only time will tell. But in general, FTAs might impact agricultural trade adversely, negatively in comparison to in comparison to positive effect. So this is the impact of trade deal. Now let's see some MCQ. So in PYQ, what are the present challenges of crop diversification? Now this is the question. And how the emerging technologies opportunities for crop diversification create opportunities for crop diversification. So what are the present challenges of crop diversification? The first is MSP farmer is inclined. Okay, so farmers inclined towards wheat rice. Why wheat rice? MSP and food security. Also naturally farmers. Second is lack of R&D and innovation. In which area? In the areas of non-wheat and rice. In rice we are having new technology, drought resistant technology, new yield is average going up. So farmers are inclined to go there. Okay, lack of R&D. Then the third is small land holdings. So thereby farmers have limited options, okay, to diversify crops. Third is the issues of climate change. Okay, so climate change is again impacting. This is the contemporary sense that because of climate change, the yield is coming down or there are external factors. The fourth is lack of requisite infrastructure. Lack of requisite infrastructure. So if the infrastructure is not adequate enough, the diversification might not happen. Because I'm talking about irrigation infrastructure, fertilizer support, input support, technology support. Though we do have a lot of missions here, but a lot has to be done. So these are the challenges of crop diversification that India might witness. Again, this I'll be covering in detail when we study this topic. So how emerging technologies create opportunities for crop diversification? So emerging technologies are the new intensive rice yield cultivation. New, in explained section we had discussed that new technologies are coming and that is increasing the yield. They are more crop resistant. Okay, so that can be there, but again we have to diversify and create opportunities for other crops as well, not only for wheat and rice. Now let's try to see this question. Consider the following statement with reference to MSP. There is no MSP for commercial crops in India. No, we have MSP. We have 4 commercial crops where MSP is available. So this statement is incorrect. CACP considers A2 method. Now CACP A2 method for calculating production cost while recommending MSP. So C2 method A2 plus A2 plus FL and C2. So these are 3 methods we can see. So answer, both are incorrect. So answer will be C. C is the answer. Okay. So let's see. MSP for major crops are fixed by the government each year after taking into account the recommendation of Commission for Agriculture Costs and Prices. As of now, CACP recommends MSP for 23 crops, out of which 7 cereal, 5 pulses, 7 oilseed and 4 commercial crops. So CACP recommends for commercial crops also, oilseeds also, cereals also. There are 3 kind of production cost: A2, A2 plus FL and C2. Okay. So A2 is what? A2 covers all paid out costs directly incurred by the farmers in cash. For example, input cost, fertilizer, pesticide, hired labor and irrigation. And in the FL, the family labor gets added. Similarly, C2 is more comprehensive and here we add the interest cost also, the interest cost on the owned land and the fixed capital. So if you have taken a loan, the interest cost can also be there. So we have multiple methods can be, 3 methods are there for calculating MSP. So that completes this video. And be regular on the explained section. I'll be discussing all the questions of the mains of economics of the previous year with model answers, and I'll be sharing a Telegram channel also where you can put your details. You can come there, be part of that, and that is how learning will grow. Okay, so thank you very much for your like the video, subscribe to the channel, and be regular. I'll be covering all important economic sections on my economics simplified for UPSC, and also the mentorship session, essay sessions will also be taken care. So thank you very much. Take care. God bless you. Like and subscribe to the channel and be regular for preparation updates. Bye.